Thanks very much. Thank you, Dominic, for inviting me. As Dominic said, my first collection came out very recently. So I'll read some poems from that first, and then I might read one or two newer poems. So I'm just noticing that I forgot to write the page numbers down. I have a little note to myself, so be patient for poems. Anyway, the first poem that I'm going to read is called Swallow. Swallow. It's a poem that's set at this time of the year, actually. Sprays of red haw tell her it's time to go, and she's springing from thorn, feathered back, brindled with sprigs of damp straw, soft throat soaring free of snagging bramble, winging south over blackberry and furze. She has met with nothing here but rain, the kind of rain that flushes mountain ash and chestnut from clogged earth. Roadside hedgerows bow as she glides, fuchsia lanterns flop to damp ground. Soon she will be darting over miles of dust track, past ghost shack and scrub, glancing off rock cacti that do not sink roots, but run feelers lightly over dunes, cup rain as it slides through spines. The second poem I'll read is set in Berlin, and it's called At the Zoo. And just a couple of Berlin place names that are mentioned in the poem. The Wannsee is a lake in Berlin, and the Spree is the river that runs through Berlin. You know, many of you have probably been to Berlin, but if you haven't, I highly recommend it. At the zoo. He took me mainly to places of leave-taking. Bahnhof Grunewald, Auschwitz, Belsen. The grave of Heinrich von Kleist at the Wannsee, and airy galleries hung only with paintings of death, pulled me running through the tunnels of the S-Bahn as if our lives depended on some westbound train we were about to miss. But the aquarium stopped us in our tracks. We spent hours there, days, pressing our faces against the icy violet jellyfish, gliding on their eddies and backdrafts, their silken root threads quivering to pulse waves, pulling against the vortex. Clasping cold fingers, we would eye the hybrid lives of the zoo. Feather-toed hens, dwarf donkeys, kangaroo rats, and dream a stampede of roaring ghost animals in the Tiergarten, on the run from the trains. The trees in the zoo's park were still frozen in their early bud, pushing small flowers into air full of the mewling of unseen birds. Snowflakes falling on the spray were tiny gulls. The yellow U-Bahn took us home, its bulbs rocking, pale petals fluttering in the arc of its headlamps. The next poem is inspired by the music of Hoagy Carmichael, and I guess it might date you if you know the music of Hoagy Carmichael, although I mean he was singing in the 1920s or 30s, maybe Noel King would know that, would you? Yeah. When was 20s or 30s? 30s? Anyway, I'm not that old, but it's lovely kind of jazz. Noel is even younger than me, so but nonetheless, Hoagy Carmichael was a great crooner from the 1920s and 30s, and some of his music is still very popular today. But so there are little fragments of his songs in this poem. The poem is called "But I Should Never Think of Spring," after Hoagie Carmichael. You brought a ghost with you, her prints in the softening earth, her snowy breath on the window pane, on the mirrors, but mostly clinging to the air between us, to our lips, to the voice of Hoagie Carmichael as he sang, "I get along without you very well." You didn't know his music, but fell when you heard that, saying you had never heard such a song, saying you wanted to hear all his songs, your eyes full of soft rain dripping from leaves, your voice full of sheltering in her arms. I lay beside you and listened, looking into the dark eyes of the fox, the dark eyes of the owl, and Hoagie singing, "It's not the pale moon that excites me, that thrills and delights me. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you, the nearness, you, listening for a name or someone's laugh that is the same."